Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber1 News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Well, good Wednesday morning to you here on the 14th day of October. Spencer, good morning, bud. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you doing today?
Well, much better. I mean, I didn't wake up to the whipping sounds of the wind. It was gnarly all day yesterday. I think in the afternoon, for the most part, it was sustained 20-mile-an-hour winds from like 2 to 6 in the afternoon, it felt like. It was, and then the lightning through the day. It was a wild weather day. Do we have anything like that on tap for today?
We'll have some morning light rain, I'm happy to say. Light rain and winds back to about 10 miles an hour, which I'll take over the gusts that we had. And man, our road and the loop, 3 is pretty clean because they've been having to clean, but 3 was actually closed in a section when I was trying to come home, so I went the long way around to get home because a tree had fallen across the roadway and they had only one lane open at a time, and they were doing their best to divert traffic. But luckily, it's just giving us time to clean up all the branches and debris that's on a lot of the roads today.
Well, we're right near some trails near our house, the Ralph Monroe Trail system, and we haven't been on it in the last couple of days because it is so wooded. You know, even if we get out there and these winds pick up, I'm worried because there's often times when the winds are not as gusty as they were, and there's branches down all across everywhere. So just be cautious out there and make sure that if you do come across any tree or you see a tree now, it looks like maybe it's cracked or something, definitely call a professional.
Oh, yeah.
To come look at this because, you know, Fred Holmes Tree Service, a great guy, advertises on the radio. They'd be able to go out and check on these things because it can be tough. So
yeah, a lot of these trees are dead.
No
too,
guests today.
You don't necessarily know they're dead until
yeah.
they fall across your driveway or something. So yeah, be careful.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No guests today, so just great conversations and news. Mason County Public Health notified of 3 additional Mason County residents testing positive for COVID-19. The total number of active cases today down 48 from the last release from Mason County Public Health. There are total confirmed deaths, 510 since the beginning of record keeping for this. And again, still one person hospitalized outside Mason County.
Shellfish managers have approved 6 more days of razor clam digging starting Friday after marine toxin tests showed the clams are safe to eat. The agency continues to emphasize digging while distancing, I like the sound of that, to support efforts by community health experts to ensure a fun and safe razor clam season. Close proximity can accelerate the spread of COVID-19, so we're asking the public to take steps to thoroughly prepare for their visits to avoid increasing risk, says Larry Phillips, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Coastal Region Director, who notes that the department is being guided by risk assessments by local and state health officials. So health agencies are asking people to kind of use common sense, stay home if you're sick, practice social distancing of at least 6 feet, mask up, bring personal protective equipment like hand sanitizer, leave no trace, which you should be doing anyway. Pack out belongings and garbage with you. Purchase licenses ahead of the trip. Bring non-cash payment methods to reduce contact and follow local ordinances and guidelines.
Well, there will be, but I still don't have a time on this. Tomorrow night, a ABC News Radio town hall with Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. It's going to be in Miami. This is in lieu of the second presidential debate town hall format between Vice President Biden and President Trump. Again, I'm still looking to check in on times for this for the start. I did just see, too, though, that President Trump will be doing an NBC News town hall, also in Miami, tomorrow night with Savannah Guthrie. So I'm not really sure if both guys are willing to do a town hall style format gathering separately, why they can't do it together and actually have the debate that was planned. But regardless, those are the orders marching orders that we have right now is that tomorrow there'll be a split presidential town hall debate format. The ABC version will have Joe Biden. The NBC version will have President Trump.
Washington Lieutenant Governor Cyrus Habib has been on an unpaid leave of absence and living in California since September. Habib announced earlier this year that he wouldn't seek re-election as he's starting the process of becoming a priest. His office on Tuesday confirmed that Habib stopped drawing his $117,300 salary September the 1st, but they said he is still serving as lieutenant governor. A spokeswoman says he continues to be in regular contact with the office and approves any documents that go out under his signature. The lieutenant governor also steps in to serve as governor when the governor is out of state or incapacitated and is the first in line of succession.
A sheriff's official says 4 officers fired over 30 rounds at a Portland, Oregon fugitive after they cornered him outside a Washington apartment. This was in Lacey, early September. We reported on this. Here's some more information on the details. The Oregonian and Oregon Live reports Thurston County Sheriff's Lieutenant Ray Brady said yesterday that police found Rowanall with a loaded .380 caliber handgun in his front pocket and his hand on or near the gun after he was fatally shot by police officers in Lacey. Rowanall was the suspect of that fatal Portland shooting of Aaron Danielson after a pro-Trump car caravan at the end of August. A team led by the Thurston County Sheriff's Office still investigating. Brady has given weekly updates on the investigation.
We have a new On Your Mind opinion piece on our website, ifiber1newsradio.com, and this one's about the Mason County Commissioner race, District 1. After you read it, please share your thoughts with the community by submitting your own article on ifiber1newsradio.com. All the stipulations are on there and stuff for you to read. Thousands of people visit our website every day. Go to ifiber1newsradio.com and look for On Your Mind.
Well, we are in Phase 3 in Mason County and much of the South Sound, but hard to believe and tough for these next counties. They've still been in Phase 1 or a modified Phase 1. Governor says 5 counties in central and eastern Washington, still under the tightest restrictions, will be allowed to resume more activity and open more services. This is Yakima, Benton, Franklin, Douglas, and Chelan counties move from modified Phase 1 to Phase 2 under the reopening plans. There had been quite outbreaks and hotspots over there during these last few months. That's why those restrictions. But those restrictions in a modified Phase 1, Spencer, that's as close to total lockdown as you can get, I think, these days.
It really is, too. And a lot of these counties, too, people live there, for great reasons and stuff. And you don't think that something like this is going to happen and you will be under such restrictions. You know what I mean? People move out to these counties to kind of be away. If they wanted to be in King County, they'd be in King County. So you kind of get out there, and then the last thing you imagine is that your life will become so restricted so quickly. But it did for all of us. Washingtonians across the state are feeling the pain from trade-related job loss. Eric Tegedoff has more for us.
Washingtonians across the state are feeling the pain from trade-related job loss. An analysis from the Washington Fair Trade Coalition Education Fund finds job loss increased to more than 10,300 between 2017 and 2019, compared with about 7,800 3 years before that. It's one of the hardest-hit states in the country. Jake Ackley is president of the Association of Western Pulp and Paper Makers, Local 422, and former worker at Ponderay Newsprint. Ackley says after years of slowdowns, Resolute Forest Products couldn't keep orders up, and its relationship with the other owners collapsed.
They've kind of controlled everything, and by pulling the tons, the other 2 partners that were left couldn't maintain, and Ponderay couldn't maintain, and they gave us about 2 days' notice.
The paper industry has been hit especially hard by trade policies. The Washington Fair Trade Coalition Education Fund reviewed data from the federal government's Trade Adjustment Assistance Program, which provides unemployment benefits to workers who have been deprived of their work because of outsourcing or displacement by imports. Hillary Hayden, a local organizer for the Washington Fair Trade Coalition, says the trade deal with China has protected big corporations that move their jobs overseas. She adds that the 2017 tax law, which was a major priority for the Trump administration, has incentivized making goods outside the U.S. Under the law, the federal tax rate for goods made in the country is 21%, while income earned offshore is taxed at half that rate.
We're seeing a lot of these policies come out of the Trump administration that are really explicitly targeted at facilitating this move of jobs to other countries.
But Hayden says the Northwest can bring back production. One route could be the push to buy clean.
Buying products that are less carbon intensive on the environment than other products. And what we find is Washington and Oregon have some of the cleanest materials in the whole world because of the standards that our state legislatures have set for manufacturing in our states.
In the short term, the report also suggests moving production of COVID-19 protective equipment from overseas to the U.S. For Washington News Service, I'm Eric Tegedoff.
Well, thank you, Eric. And moving to sports, amid the celebration and chaos of that heart-stopping final seconds from the Seahawks game over the weekend. Cannot believe it. They're 5-0, getting ready to play the Arizona Cardinals this weekend. Pre-game at 11, the kick at 1. Your Seahawks are presented by Shelton Health and Rehab, Riviera's Shellfish, South Sound Appliance, Dogtail Grooming, Neil's Pharmacy, and the Shelton Athletic Club. Again, no guests today, so great conversations throughout the rest of the day. Still that new opinion piece on iFiber1newsradio.com. Check that out and submit your own. More Daybreak is coming up.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Well, good morning again, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes here on the Daybreak Show. Before we get into our next conversation here, a reminder, we have a new opinion piece written by one of our community members with the On Your Mind segment at iFiber1newsradio.com. This is about the Mason County Commissioner Race District 1. After you read it and share your thoughts with the community by submitting your own article on iFiber1newsradio.com. You know, thousands of people visit our site every day. We're 2 weeks away from Halloween. We are in fall, Spencer, and for many folks, apparently, this is, of the 4 seasons, this is a lot of people's favorite, and we've got some reasons why here this morning. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. 56% of respondents in a new survey of 2,000 Americans that were polled say that they're happier in autumn compared to any other season. You would think maybe, pandemic or not, summer, you would think people would go on vacation and they would, I would think it would be spring or summer, but autumn tops it, and everything from baking pies, carving pumpkins, all the colors changing, especially in our neck of the woods where we get all 4 seasons. Yeah, it's a time where people feel happier.
That makes sense, I guess. It reminds folks a lot of visits with the family. Over the years, visits with the families may be a little different this year, but gathering, hominess, warmth, I think, is always something that people enjoy. Like not warmth in the sense of you're sweating in the middle of summer, but big, heavy jackets or the flannel shirts, just like good sweatpants or like tea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just a kind of a cozy time of year, and I love going on my walks and the crunching of the leaves under your feet. That's something that makes me happy, and all the reds and yellows and oranges and greens and just all the mixture of colors. And that's actually the top 20 reason people love it the most. 51% said watching the leaves change color.
What are some of these other ones? Making homemade soup. I had chili yesterday for lunch, and boy, that was good. A nice hearty chili in fall is delicious.
Oh, yeah. My mother-in-law made sweet and sour,
hot
and sour soup last night, and she's going to share the recipe with me. I'll share it with you because you've been nice enough to share all your recipes.
Yeah.
That hot and sour soup in the crock pot. Oh, she said it was so easy to make, but it was so good. It was better than any Asian restaurant I've ever been to.
Wow. Here's one from yesterday, and actually Kaiser and I were having this conversation yesterday. Listening to the sound of rain on my roof, 34% of respondents said that's one of their fall favorites. And I said that to Kaiser yesterday. He goes, man, this rain is junky. And I said, well, I think it's great. I love the sound of the rain hitting the house. You know, not when it feels like the roof's going to fly off, but when the rain's coming down, it's a nice sound. Carving pumpkins is on here. You guys do that, carving pumpkins?
You know, it's sad. We didn't do it. I don't think we did it last year. It was the first year that it made me kind of sad. It was kind of a tradition we'd always had, but I think it's mainly because we're more rural. We used to always make the pumpkins, and the kids would come to the door, and we'd have jack-o'-lanterns. Excuse me. But last year, I think, was the first one where we didn't really carve pumpkins, so I don't know what we're doing this year.
And we'll talk about this more as the weeks get closer. We've already brought it up once or twice about what people are thinking about for Halloween. There was a survey out in the Shelton community, and I think about 84% of the respondents said, we're going to probably do Halloween traditional, which means kids going door to door to collect candy. I just want to make sure everybody is doing what they can to stay safe with the distancing and just the spread, and lots of touching of different things, something to think about when the candy comes back. Because it's not, if you're having, you see a lot of videos of people wanting to shoot candy down tubes or send them over a guy wire or something like that. And that's fine for the homeowner who doesn't have to, but the kid, the end user, that would be repeated for us 60 times in the neighborhood or something like that. So just something to think about. And I know I want everything to kind of get back to how we have been accustomed to, but I think we're past all that. So I think the sooner we realize that, we're not going to get back to how we traditionally have been doing these holidays, we're able then to make that clean break and then move forward and figure out what would be the best for the people, the kids and the homeowners and everybody. I mean, it's going to be a Saturday night this year.
Yeah.
People have been waiting 7 years for this, and it's just really unfortunate that we're in the situation that we're at now.
Yeah.
But fall continues on, and maybe we'll make some pumpkin pie, or of course all those pumpkin spice lattes are the big hot items these days.
Yes, everything's pumpkin spice.
We could do a whole segment on what they make that's pumpkin spice these days.
Oh yeah, man! I can go to Walmart and pick 100 things in the first couple aisles, probably.
Yeah, that'd be funny. All right, more Daybreak Show coming up.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
Welcome back. Good morning to you. Daybreak Show rolls on here, the 14th day of October. Morning, Spencer.
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
Well, this pandemic has certainly caused people to find different outlets of serenity. Some of the things that I've seen online where people are out, they'll say, the old, well, honey, I got to go to the store for some milk and smokes, and then they're out. They go drive for an hour in what should be, a 10-minute trip down to the store or something like that.
Well, has Sarah been talking
People
to you?
need a break. They're trying to
I do that? Because that's what I do. That's what I do.
Because people need a break from all that's going on. I don't know how you and everybody at your place has been, but the last couple days have been pretty emotional for everybody. It's been tough with Kaiser in school, but he's been really pushing through and trying to do a great job. But as we've talked about over the last couple months, Stephanie and I, if needed, have the opportunity to go somewhere. He's stuck at home, unless he comes with us.
Right.
And so when people are out looking for a break, they're trying to do anything. They'll go for a longer drive to the store just to have some peace and quiet, or may spend more time in the restroom, before having to re-engage with the rest of the family. People then, too, are using their smartphones, of course, and getting online and social media. And once you get on there, you just kind of get lost in the headlines. And the more you read, sometimes the more you spiral down. And I guess there's a term for this now.
Doomscrolling. Coming to a theater near you. Oh, wait, no, theaters are... Yeah, never mind.
So what's the point of this doom scrolling? Is it just because every headline is mostly bad news, or is it because folks are looking for these bad news headlines?
That's a good question. I know that I used to, and this isn't really calling them out. They're accused of this all the time, but I used to go to like drudgereport.com for the perfect site for all what Drudge used to do. Matt Drudge, I don't even know that he owns it anymore, but he would put all the big stories of the day, and as a talk radio person and news radio person, it was a great resource to have all your stories kind of condensed in one place. Politics, pop culture, everything was on there, news, headlines. And now if you go on there, you have to mine for the good stories. I think there's one story, the positive story out of 50 on there today is that Stevie Wonder's recorded 2 positive upbeat tunes or something like that. Everything else is just famine and war and this. And if this guy wins, we're going to have a civil war. If my guy loses, we're going to have a civil war. And everything's just doom and gloom. So they're saying that people, obviously with social media, it's a constant news cycle. Like when I was growing up, we'd watch the 7 o'clock news. It'd be like Tom Brokaw or something doing the news, some local news for half an hour maybe before that. And that was it. We didn't fixate on the news all day long. I mean, I'd go to school, I'd go to work, I'd do all this stuff. We weren't fixating on the news. And now, with these supercomputers in our hands and in our pockets, we're just constantly looking at stuff, and that's what they call this doom scrolling. Is that it's not puppy dogs and rainbows we're looking at. It's the headlines and framed in a very negative way.
So there's a survey out. Denmark's Happiness Research Institute study surveyed 1,095 people. A lot of this does look like it has to do with Facebook. 94% of whom said they check Facebook at least once a day. 3/4 of those spent at least a half an hour on the site. So now these groups, the 1,000 folks, split into 2 groups of 500, saying, Group A, you keep doing what you normally do. Group B, you don't get on Facebook at all. A week later, we'll get back together and see what happens. Well, after the week, Spencer, what did they find?
Well, they found that the doom scrolling people were 55% more likely to be stressed out with symptoms of sadness, depression, even anger, loneliness. They were 18% less likely to feel present in the moment. And the people who avoided Facebook admitted they felt happier, they were more enthusiastic, and they were less stressed out.
Do you feel when you don't get on Facebook that you're having that FOMO, fear of missing out thing? I'll check Facebook here, through the morning, during the morning show, and I have been doing my level best after the show's over at 9, maybe only checking it 1 or 2 more times until the next morning. There are times, though, that I feel like I may be missing out on news stories to have to be able to share. I don't really care necessarily about the personal parts on the pages because I'll get to that. But in a breaking news society like you're talking about, especially for us, we'd have to have that news.
Yeah, for me, it's Twitter. Facebook's just kind of a playground kind of to see what people are up to and your friends are doing and stuff and who's taking pictures of their food and stuff like me. But Twitter for me is where I get kind of the breaking news. I mean, that's how I told everybody at work that Eddie Van Halen had died because I saw the little update come up and I was like, oh my gosh. And you tell everybody and then they start scrolling and reading. But I've noticed that by eliminating, whenever there's a story that pops up on my Twitter, for example, that's negative or makes me feel sad or bad, I will look at the source. If it's ABC News or whatever, maybe I'll stop following or I'll mute it. And I'm noticing as I do that, as I choose what the content is, the content gets better. I mean, that's the thing with this scrolling. The scrolling is not necessarily bad if you're reading, quotes that inspire you and hero stories and Good Samaritan stories. You could scroll all day long if it's positive stuff, but it's just the negative stuff. We got to be careful. We got to kind of screen that out if we can.
And it's easy for folks to share those kind of darker, negative stories. It's harder to go find those positive outlets and then start following them. So eventually your news feed does get aggregated that way. So the next time you're feeling stressed or depressed, just try to take that break from social media and even to the TV ads these days as we're getting closer and closer to the election. Well, more Daybreak Show is coming up, and good morning to you. Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber 1 News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.